Any other questions before we go on? If not, then let's move on to the functions and grammatical constructions of Greek infinitives on Mounce 302 and 305. All right, so Mounce walks through several ways or constructions in which we will see the infinitive used in Greek. The first kind of example he gives is the infinitive functioning as a substantive. What that basically means is that since the infinitive is a verbal noun, you can see it functioning the way a noun functions. It could be, for example, like functioning as a subject noun, right? So when it functions that way, as I mentioned, you could use the English infinitive translation to do something as the subject, or you could use a gerund for that as well. He uses the infinitive in English. So example from Philippians 1:21. For to me, and here's my infinitive, ta zein Christos. What's implied here is a copula, right? The verb to be is missing. To live is Christ. Notice that my infinitive is articular. Sometimes I could have an anarthrous infinitive functioning as a noun, but often it will be articular. So to live is Christ, from zao. Kai ta apathanein kerdos. And to die, again, a copula is implied here. To die is gain. To die is gain. All right, so here these function as subjects of copular constructions. Number two sort of example is the complementary infinitive. The word complementary, make sure you spell it properly, okay? If you spell complementary with an I right here where there's an E after the L, that means that something looks pretty and you want to tell somebody that, okay? Pay them a compliment with an I. A compliment with an E is a different term. And it means something like to fill or to fulfill in terms of the Latin root that it's based on. An infinitive is complementary if there's a main verb, and the main verb is the kind of verb that requires an infinitive to come after it to fill up or fill out its meaning. For example, if I say something like, he began, you feel like there's something incomplete there. I need an infinitive after that expression for that verb to be used grammatically, to be used well. He began to what, right? So if you're asking yourself, after a verb is used, to what, then that's a verb that requires a complementary infinitive. He began to eat. He began to speak. Infinitives would be the thing that verb needs to be used grammatically and to fulfill its requirements. It is necessary. What is necessary? Well, it is necessary to stop lying, right? It is necessary to eat. This is a kind of main verb that requires an infinitive as its complement. Okay, so Acts 2:4, he gives you an example. Erksanta, they began, and look at my infinitive, lalein. They began to what? They began to speak. Heterais, glossais, and other tongues or languages. So you get a series of different sorts of expressions given by Mounce here that are followed by complementary infinitives. And then there's a few others as well, but these are the five big ones here that he provides. De, from deo, to have to or to be bound to. We'll translate it. This is a present third singular form, to be necessary. De autein estein. It is necessary that, accusative subject, right? That's it, autein. It's necessary that she eat, or it's necessary for her to eat. If I say it's necessary, looking for an infinitive to complement that. Existent means it is lawful. What is lawful? Well, whatever the infinitive is that goes with it. Existent means it's lawful to do something. And here I have my infinitive following. It's lawful for him to eat. Okay? Mellow. That is not a basketball player. All right? Mellow means to be about to. Or, if you're from the South, to be fixin' to. Okay? Mellow este ain. Infinitive following mellow. I am about to eat or I'm fixin' to eat. Dunamai. I am able. If I say, hey, yo, I am able, you want to know to do what, right? This is a verb that requires an infinitive to complete it. I am able, dunamai, este ain, infinitive. And then archamai, I am beginning. I am beginning infinitive. I am beginning to do the infinitive, to eat, este ain. He gives you a few other complementary infinitives, main verbs that take complementary infinitives. Thelo, I wish to do something, expect an infinitive. Kaluo, I command someone to do something. Aphelo, I ought to do something, right? All of these you can imagine how an infinitive should fill out the meaning of that main verb. So those are complementary infinitives. The third type of infinitive construction are the articular infinitives along with prepositions. Now, when I have a preposition followed by an articular infinitive, that infinitive's article is going to have to be in a particular case. What case will it not be in if the articular infinitive is the object of a preposition? What case do objects of the preposition never occur in? Nominative, right? Remember, you never have a preposition that takes its object in the nominative case. It will always be one of the other three big ones: genitive, dative, accusative. Okay? So, if you have a preposition followed by an articular infinitive, and it's something like ta, right, plus some noun or some infinitive, ta plus an infinitive, like, let's see, we'll do dia plus ta infinitive. What case must ta be in? What are my two choices for ta, the article? It's nominative or accusative, but I cannot have a nominative article after the infinitive. I mean, after the preposition, right? So this must be accusative, right? Okay, so just wanting to help you see this, okay? So the preposition is going to force the article to be in a particular case, but the article will always be what gender and number? Neuter and singular, right? So what are my four forms of the neuter article? The nominative is ta, right? I'm putting that grave accent because there's always going to be an infinitive after it. Then to, excellent. Then dative, to, and accusative, ta. So these are going to be the three cases that my articular infinitives can be in, or the article, after some preposition, right? But not the nominative. Make sense? Okay, good. So let's take a look. Here we have some examples of result or purpose infinitives, and I could take the preposition dia and add an object of the preposition, and that object will be in the accusative case where the dia means because. Now, if you go back and you remember the meanings of your prepositions when they're followed by certain cases, this will all make sense. Because you remember dia could be followed by two possible cases, right? Dia plus the genitive meant what? Through. Dia plus the accusative meant because of. Well, look at that. Looky here. Dia plus the accusative case of tablepain means because of seeing. Okay? Now, look at what you've got. You have auton here, which is accusative, don't you? This raises some ambiguity. Is this because of seeing him? Is this accusative because it's the direct object of the infinitive? Or is this the accusative subject of the infinitive? Now you need some context to figure that out, don't you? And maybe you need a little bit more than just these words. And thankfully you usually get a little bit more than this when you're translating sentences from the Greek New Testament. But if it's the subject, as Mounce has it in his translation, then it's because he sees, right? This is the accusative subject. Ha Jesus charesetai, Jesus will rejoice, dia tablepe nautan, because subject accusative, he sees, hati, that, hemes agapomenautan, that we love him. Okay? John 2:24. Autas de Jesus uk epistuen auton autois. Now, Jesus himself was not entrusting himself to them, and this dia ta plus the infinitive tells you the reason, because, and then I have an accusative pronoun, because he knew pantas, all, right? By the way, that's accusative plural masculine, so the idea is he knew all men or all people. Okay, so this is accusative because it's the subject of the infinitive. This one's accusative because it's the direct object of the infinitive. You see that?
So why would you use the infinitive there?
Okay, yeah, well, there's two ways that you could do it. You could use a hati clause and a finite verb, or you could simplify it and use a prepositional phrase like this where you have a preposition dia plus the infinitive. So those are both possibilities. All right. Now the second sort of example is ace. And here you translate it as in order that, and I'd have, well, what case would ace require? Ace takes its object in the accusative case, right? So if I had an article and an infinitive, that article would be in the accusative case. So it would be ace ta infinitive, right? So ace ta blepein auton means in order that he see or sees. Here, my accusative noun is the accusative subject of the infinitive. But the ace has the meaning of in order that here. Let's look at the Matthew chapter 20, verse 19 example. Paradosusin auton tois ethnesin. They will betray or deliver him to the Gentiles. And then ace ta infinitive. In order to empaiksai, in order to mock. Kai mastigosai, in order to flog, and kai staurosai, in order to crucify. And you'll notice the object is missing. These are all aorist active infinitives, right? You see that psi. We've got a xi where the sigma is hiding in that xi, right? Psi. These are all aorist active infinitives. So they will deliver him to the Gentiles in order to do all these things implied to him. Okay? Notice that these are all translated as if they're passive, but these are genuinely active infinitives. All right, so purpose. This is why they will deliver him, in order to do these things. And then number 3, pros is a preposition that doesn't take multiple cases. It's pros plus the accusative. And so when I see pros ta infinitive, all right, it's going to mean in order that as well. It indicates purpose. Pros ta blepein auton, in order that he see, or in order that he sees. We'll look at the Matthew 23:5 example. Panta de ta erga auton, they and or now, all the works of them, they do, poiusen, or they do all their works. For what reason? Pros, ta, thea, thenai. Here's pros plus an articular infinitive in the accusative case. Notice the ta here is accusative. In order to, do you see the theta eta? That's aorist passive infinitive. In order to be blanked. Who remembers what theaomai means? Yeah, it's to see. All right, in order to be seen, tois anthropos, by men, literally, by men, by other people. All right, so main verb, and then the pros, ta. This is the reason that the main verb happens. They do these things in order that, or in order to be seen. All right. Now, the other sorts of semantics that you'll see with these prepositions plus infinitives is when they are temporal, okay? So, pra is a preposition that's going to take its object in the genitive case. And pra means before. So if I want to say that somebody did something before some action, it's going to be pra plus to, genitive case, and then the infinitive. Pra to infinitive. Over here, pra to blepein, before the seeing, right? Or before someone sees. Auton, before he sees. So our example from Matthew 6:8. Oidengar hapater humon. For your father, nominative case hapater, your father, oiden, knows, hon kreon ekate, the things of which you have need. When? This infinitive phrase tells us when. Pra to aitesai, before the asking. Now, what case is humas? That's accusative plural. For y'all, what case is auton? That's accusative as well, isn't it? So which one's doing the asking and which one's the object of the asking? Yeah, so before the you asking him. Now, that's bad English. How would we translate this better? Before you ask him. All right? By the way, this is an aorist active infinitive. Do you see the sigma alpha here? Yep. And then that iota tacked onto the end for aorist active. Okay, so your father knows what you need before you ask him. Number 5 here, n always takes its object in the dative case, right? So, when we have an infinitive, it'll be n to infinitive. En to blepein. This is going to be translated as when or while. So, when seeing, or when auton, accusative subject, when he sees. Matthew 13:4, from the parable of the sower. En to sperein auton, hamen episen paratein hadan. Okay, this latter part is the main clause. Some fell along the path. What does this introductory infinitive phrase inside the prepositional phrase tell us? It tells us when. When did some fell along the path? While, auton is my accusative subject, while he sowed, or when he sowed. In this case, he translates it as he sowed. But it's giving you a temporal setting, right? A time frame. These things happened when or while he was sowing. And then number 6, meta. Meta, remember, can be followed by genitive or accusative case, right? What does meta mean when a genitive case noun follows it? Okay, yep, means with the accusative, after. We are looking at meta plus the accusative, okay? So, meta, accusative of the article, and then infinitive. Meta, ta, infinitive, means after the infinitive action happened. Meta tablepin autan, after he sees. Okay? And the example from the New Testament, Matthew 26:32. Meta ta egerthenai me. After the, what voice is this? Egerthenai. Yep, it's aorist passive infinitive, and me is accusative subject. After I am raised. By the way, that's aorist passive. Why is Jesus telling them about something future using the aorist passive infinitive? After I am raised. Why don't we translate this as after I was raised? It's aorist passive after all. Do aorist passive infinitives have any inherent past tense value? No. This is an aspect issue, not a tense issue, right? So he's talking about something future, but he's portraying the action of being raised as a complete or a whole action, right? So later, after I'm raised, conceptualize that as a done deal, I will go before you to Galilee, right? All of this is future. So he's not using the aorist because it's past. He's using the aorist because he's portraying the action from that unbounded whole viewpoint. Okay? Alrighty. The fourth thing that he talks about here is using the infinitive to express purpose. Now, the whole section right before had to do with when infinitives are objects of the preposition. Okay? And some of those were purpose infinitives. But there are some other ways to express purpose with an infinitive without a preposition. Number one, he reminds us that you can use prepositions to do it. So this point number one here is kind of a throwaway because you've already covered that. What's new in this section is numbers 2 and 3, okay? The articular infinitive with the article in the genitive but with no preposition can also express the purpose of the main verb. So if you look here at Matthew 2:13, Herodes, subject, zetain is the main verb, okay? So Herod is searching, ta paidion, for the child, to apalesai auta. Here I don't have a preposition before the articular infinitive. Just the bare articular infinitive in the genitive case is enough to indicate purpose, to destroy him. Okay? So when you see a genitive article and an infinitive, you need to be thinking that's purpose. And then number 3, the infinitive all by itself with neither preposition nor article can express purpose after a main verb. Okay? So in Matthew 5:17, Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, me namisate, do not think, hati, that, elthan, I came, this is my main verb, and then I just have an infinitive all by itself after that main verb, that I came to kataluo, okay? That I came to abolish. That is, I came for the purpose of abolishing. Do not think that I came to abolish tan naman, the law. All right? No preposition, no article. The bare infinitive following the main verb could express purpose as well. And then finally, the infinitive can be used to express results. And here, what is usually meant is the result without intended purpose. Okay? Obviously, if I do a main verb with the intention of something happening, I came to give them life, my hope is that my intention will be fulfilled. And so that could be the result as well. But when a verb is described or an infinitive is described as merely a result infinitive, the only way you can really label it that is if you conceive of it as an unintended result. And here's an example, okay? Well, let me just state it. The construction, you will see the conjunction hoste followed by an infinitive, and that together will indicate the purpose of the main action. Luke 5:7, eplesan amphatera taploia. They filled both boats. That's what it's saying. They filled both of the boats. And then I have hoste buthidzestai alta, so that they began to sink. Now, did they fill the boats in order for the boats to sink? Was that their intended purpose? No. They filled them, and the result, unintended though it may have been, the result was that they began to sink. Do you see the difference between intentional purpose and then mere result? Does that make sense? Okay. So this hoste, buthidzestai, there's my infinitive ending there, right? This is result, but not the purpose for the main verb. They don't fill the boats because they want to sink. They fill the boats with the result that they sink. Okay? I may have mentioned this at some time in the past, but you remember the disciples asked Jesus, Master, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? That he was born blind is not the purpose of the sinning, but it's the result of the sinning in the disciples' minds, right? We don't sin for the purpose of being made blind, but we might sin with the result that we become blind, right? That's the difference between purpose and result. And the hoste plus infinitive indicates the result of an action.